It's our first end-of-year special. We'll talk about the top stories, the state of the game, and resolutions we probably won't keep on today's special TXWaterpolo Podcast. It's me, James Smith, in beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. Joe Linehan is on Skype in Texas at your home, right, Joe?
I'm in North Texas. I am, yes, in Grapevine.
Hey, Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year, at least in a couple days here, yeah. I'm good.
Days. Yeah, today we're going to recap a whole bunch of stuff about the 2019, but how was your Christmas?
It was good. Lots of traveling. I drove down to San Antonio, then to Corpus, all over South Texas, and then back up to North Texas. Got here, Sunday morning about 12:30, and then had a game day the next day. Fun.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't have nearly as busy a schedule. We obviously drove up here after the Christmas celebrations, but New Year's Eve at my parents and New Year's Day at our house. It was a good time. Yeah, good Christmas.
So do you have snow on the ground up there?
Yeah, it's cold, man. It's like I think it was 13 degrees overnight. It snowed just as we got here. Here's a story. So I didn't have internet for about a day and a half, and it was because it was thunder snowing. And a lightning bolt hit the transmitter that gives us Wi-Fi at our house. So it was really like cabin living for a while. That's why you didn't hear from me for 2 days.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you were able to survive.
Yeah, we're surviving and a little bit better than that. All right. So let's get to it. So it was a monumental year for Texas water polo, and you and I are going to recap a few of the biggest stories, and we'll also highlight some of the signs of growth, which are big. There's some overlap, but let's all get it out there. To me, there's one story. We sort of joked about it the last time we spoke. In October, the UIL approved water polo as a sanctioned high school sport, and to me, this changes everything. And I don't want to overstate it, right? Because obviously there's a lot of work to be done, and the way that it actually pans out is still open. But this is gigantic. We discussed it in detail, but it really changes everything in the sense that it trickles down, don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have 20 months to get this right, or 20 months to mess it up, until it starts in the fall of 2021. But more importantly, in the short term, this is going to open up doors to a lot of school districts that currently don't play water polo. They are actively looking in and want to play water polo starting in fall of 2021. It also opens up doors and kind of like the parallel tracks as far as like the municipalities, the YMCAs, aquatic centers that may not have wanted club water polo are now embracing club water polo.
Right.
So there's a lot of avenues that are going untouched,
yeah,
or that had gone untouched before that are now, the doors are opened. So this is 2020 is going to be a very busy year. So
when the story broke, I wrote something for Swimming World magazine. They were curious about what it really means for the rest of the country. And one of the things that I mentioned was it does lend the sport a level of legitimacy that, for all of the work that's been done over the past 3 decades or 4 decades to establish it as a club sport, I don't think it's controversial to say that the UIL sanction is just something different. It's a elevation of the sport, and that will trickle down, as you just said, to clubs, to Austin College, to other colleges, presumably in the state of Texas, who are now paying attention. The ramifications are huge.
Yeah, we already have a lot of tournaments, but now a lot of people are also looking to come to Texas now. Oh, that's the next huge growth area. So, although I think people have known that the last couple of years, but now now we are legitimate, and so what are we going to do with that? We kind of with that stamp of validation.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people that I've had a ton of conversations, from clubs to athletic directors up and down the line. Everybody is kind of on board. We want to make this transition to the UIL sanctioned sport in the fall of 2021 as easy and as seamless as possible.
Okay.
But in the meantime, the growth potential is great. It's going to be sky high, and and again, I think you hinted at this. The hard work now, the hard work now begins. So.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. The story was not untainted. There was a leadership change about a month prior, which Chris Cullen was dismissed from his position. And I mention it because at the time I'm not convinced, but I was definitely worried that was a signal that the decision by the UIL had taken a negative turn. It turns out to be exactly the opposite. The outcome was maybe even better than we expected. There was the resistance that was presented at the UIL meetings was serious, but not nearly enough to derail the process. And so at the time, what I wrote and what I mentioned to other people in conversations was that I didn't think it was a terribly good sign, and I was wrong. It turned out to be that the process actually almost accelerated.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of us wear multiple hats in the water polo world, especially out here on the fringes in Texas. And Chris Cullen wears probably more hats than just about anyone.
Yeah, it's
And
incredible.
the hat that we're talking about is the TXWaterpolo chair, which is the head of high school water polo in Texas. He's still highly involved, and he worked with the new chair, which is Scott Slay, who also wears lots of hats as well.
Yes.
And we'll talk about him in a little bit. But I mean, this was the coming, like, the TXWaterpolo group. It really motivated the group to get together, to get on board, to work with TXW, to work with the UIL. Not that we weren't doing that before, but just in that final push in the month leading up to the UIL meetings, it was a great motivating factor. And although Chris Cullen, was not the chair, he was part of that process, and he was still at the forefront of it. And
Sure.
And it takes a village. There's a lot of people that kind of made this happen. I think I've mentioned this before, but Scott Slay, Mac McDonald, Chris Cullen was huge. And also the TSCA board. I mean, and also Dr. Braddup and Dr. Elza and Dr. Harrison at the UIL. This is everybody coming together, and that was just the catalyst of it. So.
Well, that story would have been a much higher one if the UIL decision hadn't gone the way it did. But
it didn't.
It actually deflated it. Yeah, exactly. So it's water under the bridge, as they say, and Chris is still obviously highly involved in the sport and will be for the foreseeable future. At the same time, the women of Austin College, they had their first season ever last spring. This is another big item for the state. And what they did is ended the season with almost a Division III national champion, or a CWPA rather, national championship for Division III. They lost to McAllister in the final, but this is big. Like I don't think even you and I maybe expected that result to come. And if you think about it, if there were a Division III national championship, as there will be this coming spring, they would have made it. They would have made the Final Four.
Yeah, and they would have. And for those that don't know, the CWPA is pretty much an East Coast and kind of the Central United States conference. And there are 10 Division III teams in that conference, and the Austin College is in the Western Division of that. And they placed second in their division to McAllister. They were undefeated against the Eastern Division throughout the year, and also at the CWPA Division III championships. And they ended up just kind of losing they just kind of fell short against McAllister in the championship. But they had 9 freshman girls.
That's the point right there.
And they're gonna be even stronger this year, because they're gonna keep that 9 girls, and then they're gonna add another 5 or 6, and they're gonna be deeper. And I feel for all the other Division III teams on the East Coast and in the CWPA, and I think they're going to be competitive, and they might even be able to win that Division III Nationals.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
No pressure, Coach Lawrence.
No, well, he I think he invites it, and he should. I mean, he won Coach of the Year honors for that fact that the Kangaroos placed second in the CWP National Championship, or Eastern Championship rather, and I think that he's looking forward to this coming year. Now, we're not going to talk about it today, but it actually changes the scheduling for schools like Austin College, which is almost a little strange. It's something we can go into more detail, but that team is poised for success at the Division III level, I think, and very, very quickly.
And they have some good athletes and some good players on the female side, and I just am looking forward to watching them play this upcoming spring. So.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's move on. So we mentioned Scott Slay, who was in the news for, as you said, he wears a lot of different hats. But maybe for me, one of the most impressive things was just how his Foster High School girls won the state championship in just their 4th year. It demonstrates a few things. One is, I think it's pretty widely acknowledged that he's a good and successful coach, and the numbers bear that out. But if you're looking from a distance and you see that Foster High School did not exist 5 years ago, and now they have both a state championship for their girls and a runner-up trophy for their boys, is actually one of my favorite stories of the year. Very, very impressive.
Yes, it's very impressive, but I'm not surprised. I believe in Scott Slay. I think he's been successful everywhere he's gone, from Baytown Sterling to Tomball and now down at Foster. He has won everywhere. He's developed athletes at every stop. And it's just a testament to those kids that are there and the program that he's made. I mean, a lot of those kids there at Foster, I believe, play club water polo specifically for the Viper Pigeons. And that's the magic ingredient. It's no different than club swimming or club volleyball or club soccer for other high school sports. You look at it, and then you're going to get like people come up to me and ask, so Joe, what high school team's going to win? And I'm like, okay, just let me count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Oh, the 5's going to win. They go, what did you count up? I go, the number of kids that play club water polo.
Kids. Yeah.
And it's not just play club water polo, because there's a lot of people that sign up for club water polo and they don't play. It's a sign up, play, and compete on a regular basis.
Right.
And I believe that there's a ton of those girls and boys at Foster, and that's why they get then they got second boys and first in girls, and I don't think that's surprising to anybody. They compete, they're out there, and it's not rocket science, but it is a testament to Scott Slay building the program and getting the kids to buy in and getting the parents to buy in, and that's the impressive part in my mind.
That's it. That to me is creating a culture.
Correct.
Because you could have all of those club kids, and you should, and you could be a leader who is not quite as adept at those kinds of things, but he's created a culture quickly of success, and they even had both MVPs of the high school season were both from Foster. Again, I know that they play club, but that establishment of a culture, and he's a very low key guy. You don't think that in some ways, if you look at it from a distance, you wouldn't think that he was the kind of leader that he is. But anyway, he's now a 7-time winner of the Coach of the Year award for TSCA, which is the most of any coach ever. So, and then we have this coming year, which I think he's going to be just as successful. So, anyway, a mention of Foster as one of the impressive stories of the year. Okay, and then back in January, we did a short piece on the Pegasus 14 and under boys. They went out to a tournament in San Diego that's been around for a dozen years. And as those tournament organizers told me, it was the first time that any team outside the state of Texas won a championship. They were in the Platinum Division, and they came home with the Pacific Winter Classic title. So that was an impressive story in and of itself, but really it's an indicator of a larger trend, which is the teams that are going out to California or elsewhere and doing very well, like succeeding more than we have in the past.
Yeah, I think Pegasus also went out to the Cousineau Cup back in October, and they did very, very well up there. I think they placed in the top 2 or 3 in the 14 and under boys division. I think Thunder, they went out recently in December, and in the 18 under boys, they placed 5th or 6th at a huge tournament and placed ahead of Set and Foothill and SoCal and then also Southside at the Champions Cup that was hosted here in Texas. They beat some historically great teams from
that's right
or some strong clubs from California. And you also mentioned I think the Viper Pigeons have been out there. I think Zilla's gone out there, and Longhorn and Aquatex. Everybody has gone out there and done some different things, and this is just at JOs, every year the teams get, we get more teams in platinum. This is just
Right.
the slow building process of club water polo. Each and every year just get better and better and better. And this is just the club development. This is the next step. You're not just going to sit at home during the winter because it's quote unquote swim season for like club swimming or high school swimming. Teams,
Right.
the clubs are actively looking to go do things, and the kids want to go play. And I mean, and I've done plenty of club building in Texas, and it just boggles my mind. I get families that they didn't want to spend the they were not invested at the point, and so they didn't understand why to spend $200 for the seasonal club dues. But now that same family with their third kid playing is like, this is no big deal. I want to do more.
Yes,
because they're
that's
invested
really
and they understand the worth of it now. And that's what I see, throughout all the different clubs that are obviously there are some clubs that are slightly ahead as far as the traveling aspect, but a lot of the clubs are just building and getting better each and every year. And right now, Pegasus, Thunder, and Viper Pigeons and Southside are kind of leading the way. And I mean, I even think the Bernie Water Polo Club, I think they went out to the beach water polo tournament in Florida last May. It's great.
Right.
And these are outside of the normal like the JO trips. So I think this is indicative of the next step for a lot of these current clubs to take. So
it also speaks again to that idea of culture. It's like you have a club, and the culture is set actually rather early, which says we're going to go out and compete. And there are some clubs who are a little more local, and that's totally fine. That's their decision. But the idea that we're not going to just stay in our local area, we're going to go discover what it is we need to learn and how we compete against teams from other parts of the country, that's a big deal. And so anyway, congratulations to them, all the teams that did so well. All right, we're going to come back. We'll return with more about how the sport is growing.
Hey, this is Jesse Smith, recent Pan Am gold medalist. I was just checking out Texas Water Polo from the TXWaterpolo Podcast. Also, you can check out their website. You can follow me at GoSmith now. Thanks, guys.
So a few important items about growth in Texas. We talked about that in the earlier segment, but there's other things that deserve mention, really. And you talked a lot about those throughout the year during our first year of podcasting. But what are the things that stand out for you in particular about how the sport is growing in the state of Texas?
I just think, we kind of hinted at it at the end of the first segment. The club growth throughout Texas, especially at the younger age groups in clubs, is huge. It wasn't that long ago that we had 2 or 3 different clubs going to JOs, and that's it. And then this past summer we had 10 different clubs go to JOs. Right. And then from 2018 to 2019, we went from 7 clubs that went to JOs to 10. So these clubs are getting it, like they may only be able to bring the 18 and 1600 boys one year, but then the next year they're bringing 18, 16 girls, or they go down. And it's specifically at the younger age groups. I'm seeing a growth, and the clubs are really kind of focused on that younger age group, because if you consistently have the younger age groups, you're going to consistently have the 18s and 16 and underage groups.
Right.
And and we had a couple events this year and then in January 2019 we had the USA Water Polo Dare to Dream event over MLK weekend, which was at the Spring Branch and Auditorium. We had 9 different 12 and under teams play, and that was specific 12 and under tournament. I think we hinted about it in an earlier podcast. We're expanding that this year with a 10 and under and under division and a 12 and under girls division as well for 2020. The Welcome to Texas shootout in San Antonio. That event had been in Houston or in Austin, and then I think we found a permanent home down at the Northside ISD Swim Center.
That's big, yeah.
And I mean, it's going to allow that tournament to grow. Like this year, we had 42 different teams. In 2020, that's going to allow us to The indoor pool is going to open, and that's going to allow us to have up to 75 different teams. And there's plenty of other facilities if we get bigger than that to keep growing. But I mean, even more so, kind of San Antonio is that one metro area that there is some club water polo going on, but there's so much potential there.
Oh my gosh, so much.
And I mean, they were very successful back in the 80s. I know Jim Yates and Bill Freeman at the San Antonio Water Polo Club, and Matt Ross at Bernie. They're doing their best as far as having the club like the different age groups and genders. But there's just so much potential there, and and I look forward to seeing that continue to grow here over the next couple of years, especially as teams a lot more high school start playing high school water polo.
That's totally it. Yep, the high school thing. That's if there's an area of the state where the high schools are going to drive, or at least contribute greatly to the growth of the sport, it's there, because you've got these families who've been aching to play high school water polo. Had been sort of checked out of high school water polo except for their local league for a few years now, and with the UIL decision, they're all back, right? I mean, the two main ISDs, as far as we know, they're going to field teams.
Well, there's one primary ISD right now that plays high school water polo. That's Northside kind of ISD, and they're going to be playing in the next couple springs. There is Alamo Heights, which is a single school district, or a single high school district,
right?
And they're and they're going to be playing a little bit more this upcoming spring. But yeah, I mean, we're hopefully like that we can get the San Antonio kind of ISD, the Bernie ISD, the Northeast ISD. There's a lot of different avenues of growth down there and potential. And I think and just getting that, like the Welcome to Texas Shootout, which is a USA Water Polo signature event down there, is bringing a lot more attention down there, and it's opening up doors even before the UIL thing happened. It's opening up doors for growth in the area, and I'm just excited about it because I'm for those that don't know, I'm from San Antonio, so I mean, I am looking forward to seeing it grow down there. And then there's other little, as like kind of you mentioned the high school. We had high school leagues in the Rio Grande Valley, in Laredo, in El Paso this past spring, and specifically back to the Rio Grande Valley. A couple years, there was only a couple schools that would play. This past spring, there were 4 different high school tournaments, all done with local referees, with 8 different schools that played with both boys and girls. That was a huge step, and I'm just anticipating like 10 to 12 different schools, a lot more referees down in the area, this upcoming springtime. I mean, it's like, and then we're going to see the same kind of growth in Laredo, El Paso, and Midland, and in Lubbock and Abilene and Bryan College Station, East Texas, West Texas, and everything in between. This is the type of growth that is very exciting, especially with the whole UIL thing. Now, as to get back to club, this in 2019 was the first year that we had the split NGAO qualifier weekends. So I mean split. We used to have all age groups and all genders on the same weekend. Actually, at one point it was a half a day on a Sunday. Okay. Then it got big a couple years ago in 2018. It was 3 full days. We had so many games. This was down in Pearland but we couldn't really have a full-fledged true qualifier because we ran out of pool space. So in 2019, we decided to have 2 separate weekends, a weekend for the 14 and under and 12 and under age groups, then a separate weekend for the 18 and under and 16 and under boys and girls. And it worked out great this year. The South Side hosted the 14 and under and 12 and under championships down in Pearland. There's a lot of room for growth there. For right now, that's going to continue to be a Saturday and Sunday event. But then the Cy-Fair Water Polo Club, they hosted the older age groups, and that was a full-fledged Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. We're probably going to do the same thing in 2020, but eventually the next step after that is to maybe move and have a separate weekend or maybe the same weekend, but maybe a separate location for girls or a separate location for boys. And because it's going to get to the point wherever, you have 12 teams from one age group and gender, that's a lot of games that need to be played to properly seed it for the teams coming from our from our zone going out to JOs. Right. And we had I think it was 40 teams. We had probably 42 teams that qualified. We had a couple teams that dropped out, but we had 40 plus teams that went to JOs this year. And that's the most ever. And we had 10 different clubs going. We could have had a couple more teams that would have gone that there just wasn't enough space. So this is just, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know, but the number of slots that we get for NJOs is based off of the membership of the previous year. So our slots are going up each year as we continue to grow, but let's just say we're growing faster than the number of slots. Now. And that's good because then it's putting a lot of pressure for teams to be organized and be prepared. It's not just, kind of be prepared to go to the trip with with plane tickets and kind of the hotels and, parents and parent groups that are helping behind the scenes, but it's also being prepared and getting started right after the high school season. Yeah. To be prepared for the JO quals in June.
Yeah. So the highest number of athletes ever, right, from the zone, the highest number of clubs ever for the zone, including now there's a club in Oklahoma that is at. There was in the past, I seem to recall, but really pleased to see that they're back in the zone fold. But just nothing but really good news in that regard.
Yeah. Like it's great. And then, it's not something that we're going to have every year, but this year we did have the USA Water Polo Champions Club at U of H in November, which was a great success. And we had we had 2 boys teams and 2 girls teams that competed. We even had to have a qualifier kind of for the boys.
Right.
And we dressed up U of H as nice as we possibly could, and everybody loved the facility. Obviously, kind of Houston is an easy place to get to because of the 2 big airports.
Right.
But everybody had a great time there. So, and I hope that we get into that regular rotation of having a Champions Cup in the Southwest Zone on a regular basis. And then of course, I mean, I'm going to give some props to you a little bit with the TXWaterpolo Podcast and the website. That's really helped with the awareness of a lot of things that we talk about on the pool deck. Now people can kind of listen in a little bit, or there's a place to go to get a lot of good information. So props to you a little bit with the TXWaterpolo Podcast as well.
Well, thank you. That should really be the top story if you think about it. I mean, of all things, bigger than the UIL decision is the fact that there is a TXWaterpolo Podcast. I appreciate that. That's very kind. And as I said before, I almost act like nobody's listening to the show. So it's like when we get feedback that's positive, it's always a surprise to me. And not only that, but we have people who are willing to donate to the cause, and I'm endlessly grateful for that.
And for those tens of people that are listening, if I left something out as far as growth, it's a never-ending list, and we keep adding on to it. I'm looking forward to it in 2020, kind of moving forward. And I mean, we're all partners in this together. So, and I mean, this is the potential in Texas is huge. So, and that's why the eyes of USA Water Polo are here. The eyes of the water polo communities from coast to coast are looking at Texas, and we have 2,200 USA Water Polo members, which only 10 years ago we had about 400. Now, and even only a couple years ago we had about 1,400. I don't know why we can't have 5,000 within a couple years. So.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. You mentioned,
and then if we get to that 5,000, then we're getting into where we're like the 3rd or 4th biggest zone in the country, and we're beating out some of the California zones. And I think then it's going to be the snowball effect. It's just going to be just kind of knocking it down until we're the biggest one out there. So
yeah, all things to look forward to in 2020, which is around the corner. And beyond. Well, you mentioned just a moment ago about the top lists. nobody is more eager than our audience to hear what our personal items of the year have been, including movies and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. So we figured we would spend 45 seconds on that kind of thing to satisfy that need. But for me, I just saw this top 10 list of TV shows, and I had two of them, I think, on mine. For me, The Crown is my favorite show. In fact, I watched an episode just 2 nights ago that was just stunningly good. It's actually what I figured is it's not simply it doesn't just detail the day-to-day activities of the royal family. It's actually a pretty psychological drama as well. So anyway, it fits my bill. What about you? I think you have some top TV shows too.
No, I mean, I'm not going to go into the little ins and outs. I mean, I like to go to the movies or kind of watch or binge watch a TV show just for the sheer entertainment value. Like, of course, I like Avengers Endgame. I like all the Marvel movies, kind of Mindhunters on the small screen. I was a late comer to the Game of Thrones thing. I didn't really watch the first episode until January of 2019. So I kind of got caught up by the time the show came around in April. And I loved it. I know others that were really invested over 8-10 years. They were a little disappointed with the last season, but I thought it was great. Like there's some kind of that like some Netflix stuff like The Highwaymen and The King kind of were movies that I liked. Ozarks is a show that I think I binge watched in early 2019. I'm so far behind on my movies. I'd love to see like the new Star Wars. I haven't seen that yet, or 1917, or the Ford vs Ferrari. But I may just be waiting until it comes to the small screen. So
yeah, you mentioned Mindhunters. That's actually something that I really enjoyed as well. And I don't spend a whole lot of time watching TV shows, so I'm fairly selective. Although my wife really determines what we watch at night anyway. But I thought that was terrific. And The Highwaymen is on my list as well. I want to see that, which has gotten really good reviews. For me, the movie of the year is Apollo 11. Like that to me is that fits my bill. A documentary, big screen kind of atmosphere, and just detailing what it took for these people to get to the moon, which they spent a ton of money on it, but in the end, this craft was patched together with like duct tape and baling wire, and it was incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing kind of what they did back in the 60s and early 70s with the technology that they had at their hands. So
right.
With our iPhones have kind of more computing power than the entire the Mercury fleet back in the day.
Way more amazing. All right, New Year's resolutions. Do you have one?
Actually, I do. I mean, this is going to make some people laugh out there that are listening, but back in my Houston Water Polo Club days, back in 2008, I did not drink a Mountain Dew in 2018. That was my goal. I think somebody challenged me to it, and I just wanted to prove them wrong. So now that was just me and just kind of just wanting to prove something wrong. But in 2020, I'm going to give up Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper.
Wow.
So that's my goal. That is my New Year's resolution. So, and that's more of a kind of a health thing and just starting to eat better type thing. But so if anybody's listening and you see me with a Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper, you have free reign to come over and just knock it right out of my hands. Okay. So
I think that's a little anti-Texan that you're taking Dr. Pepper off the menu.
No. It's all good. But yeah, just starting to be a little bit healthier and kind of doing the cliche thing of starting to work out a little bit more starting January 1. Hey, it's a cliche for a reason. It works. So we will see if it works. How about you as far as your resolution?
Yeah, I avoid resolutions in the sense that they are often highly ambitious. And so, I think I joked with you about like I'm going to shave, or something like that. But I do have actually a largely ambitious one, which is just to be kinder. I'm looking for that as I get older every year, is just to be kinder and more understanding of people. We'll see how that works, but so far so good.
As far as the resolution, my wife does not believe I can go 2 days without the whole Mountain Dew Dr. Pepper thing, by the way.
What do you think? You went a year already. That's pretty impressive.
Well, that was Mountain Dew, and that was a long time ago. But because my wife says I can't do it, that's even more motivation for me to do it.
No kidding.
So if I can get a week, I think I can get a year. So
there you go. No problem. Why not diet? You diet? Isn't there a diet? I haven't had it.
I drink soda because it tastes good. I don't drink soda because, and diet doesn't taste good to me. So
yeah, okay. I agree with you.
And I don't, and I'm not a coffee person, so I'll have to figure out a way to get caffeine. I'll have to figure out a way to get my caffeine kind of some other way. But no, it's just, I'm going to be kind of moving a little bit more and eating a little less here in 2020. So
I didn't realize you were not a coffee person. That might actually cause me to find a new partner for this show, Joe. Let's be frank.
Oh no, you have some high standards there, James.
Yeah, so. Coffee. All right, that's it. We'll be back in 2020, which is an Olympic year. We mentioned it before. Tokyo is on the calendar. It may not have a direct connection with Texas, but every year that there's an Olympic Games, the sport grows throughout the entire country. So obviously it has that kind of effect on us. And when we get back to high school season, we'll just be like, wow, right around the corner. So thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it for being part of the show. And we'll see you in January.
Yeah, well, thanks, James, and take care and enjoy New Year's up in cold Santa Fe. So
I love it. Thank you, and have a good New Year's evening. And for those of you who are interested in this, go to TXWaterpolo.com, listen to the podcast, find us on social media, leave comments, and all that kind of stuff. We will be back in the first week of January, and then things are going to get busy. But thank you all for listening throughout the entire year, for telling friends about this show. And until next week, so long from Santa Fe.
So this is the new